All right, diving into number 5 now.
My number five was Nate. Like I said, he was kind of back and forth between CC and him. Now, the reason I had him slightly higher, partially because A, we got to see a little bit more from him, and B, we got to see him in a final to kind of say, like, hey, this is why I think I should win the game, and blah, 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 blah. I feel like both games I want to point out were kind of inverted, where the first time Nate plays, he's balls to the wall, he wants to make these big moves, and he goes out trying to make a big move. Whereas in Evolution, he makes it all the way to the end, doesn't really make a big move, but, like, it's kind of survival, I guess, kind of like, what's going to get him to the end? You know, it's like anyone but me strategy low key, and I do think, again, had he been with a couple different people, he could have possibly made it a lot, like, possibly could have won Evolution, because I do think he had a really good comeback story being voted off early on and coming back the next season. And I don't want to say having control, but like being in a great spot for most of the game. Mm-hmm. The one, I mean, like CC, a huge reason I didn't put him much higher was because of the fact that, again, it's hard to decide when to make these moves in the game, but like, I do think he and CC should have tried to make that move a little earlier, because if you make it too late, you're not going to get a chance to. If you do it too early, you're just opening yourself up. So I do know it's hard, but Nate's someone I definitely want to give credit to because he is active in the game. Like in Summer Solstice, he knows he's getting screwed early on. He knows people are looking at him in some way, shape, or form, and he's smart enough to kind of look at the picture and say, like, hey, I need to keep an eye out for myself. I need to keep an ear out for myself and keep myself safe. And I do have a lot of respect for the way he did play the game because of the fact that he was smart enough to do what he needed to do to get to the end. The problem, kind of again, it kind of reminds me of Russell Hans almost, where he did what he needed to do to get to the end, but didn't do what he needed to do to fully win the respect of the jury. Which I feel like in some seasons it's definitely very different, because some seasons may value strategy over social game. Some seasons may value social game over strategic game. And I feel like it was kind of different. Like Nate's first season, he was playing a very strategic game when the whole crowd he was with was valuing a more quiet social game. And in an Evolution, he was trying to play up the social game when that crowd was wanting a more strategic winner to go on. So, I mean, I do feel like Nate's smart enough to adapt and realize what went wrong, what was right, what he needed to do. I think the problem was just, it's kind of like one season he's too aggressive, the other season he's too tame. So I definitely would love to see him come back a few more times, maybe kind of perfect it, kind of like the Tom Anderson treatment. You know, I'd love to see Tom back. I'm just saying that right now. But yeah, Nate is someone I definitely would love to see come back. I definitely see potential in him. So maybe he'd be the first person, newbie-wise, who would make it to a finals twice.
Yeah. So. All right. So the reason I'm not going to comment is because he also was my number 5. So we did agree on something there. Yeah, I mean, with Nate, I think he's an excellent player. And I agree. He played completely opposite both times. The first time he played really aggressive, got out early because he just went against an alliance that was strong with Corey, Liz, and Ryan, who I had at 6 and 7. And then Evolution, he came and played a completely different game. He seemed like to himself he really just wanted to make it far, no matter what he had to do that, where he really kind of just didn't really do much, which I was a little disappointed with because I thought he was one of the people on my list and guys that I was recruiting to play for a while that I thought would really bring it all together. Now, I will say, I think, like you said, all right, he tried out playing really aggressive early. He tried out playing really passive for most of the game. Now that third time he plays, I think he's going to put it all together, and I could see him winning. I'm not even going to lie. He's really smart player, really needs to pick his battles better, which I think he'll figure out now. And he can definitely go on an immunity run in challenges. I mean, he won that one against Christian, and he showed potential that he can. He's a physical player. In the pre-merge of Summer Solstice, won some challenges pretty handily they won some challenges because of him. I think he's got a lot of potential. The reason I don't have him, I have Chris higher than him, is because I think Chris played a better game. And I think, let's say, this is the final 3 that I think would have made stuff very interesting in our rankings, and honestly would have helped with our rankings, is if, let's say, Chris, Nate, and Emma actually all band together, take somebody out, and they're in the final 3. That's a really tough call who's going to win. People might say Emma, people might say Chris. I think I would say Chris, but that's just my opinion. So, and I think Nate would have got 3rd still, and that's why I have him at 5th. But Nate, I think definitely next time he plays, he's going to figure it out. I love this guy. He's got great potential, again, which I kind of have to base this off with newbies. But we've seen what we've seen with him, played 2 different games, a lot of potential. Maybe he's going to be like Chameleon and do a third act of something completely different that we're not ready for. So I think we both kind of have the same opinion on Nate at fifth. So I don't think there's really much more to say. So
Yeah,
let's get in.
I mean, Nate's someone I would definitely love to see back again. So
Yeah, let's get into our number 4. Hey, Richie.
All right, number 4. Connor was my number 4. Obviously.
Hater! You're a hater! You need to wake up, Richie! You're a hater!
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Gosh, come on! You would have won the game. We know that. You literally said that.
I won the game, but for me,
because of a puzzle.
The thing is that evolution, not evolution. I don't know why I put evolution. I'm supposed to say summer solstice. The true dumbass I am. It's just because of the fact that Connor partially only gets to that point because of the fact he has idols, advantages, and all of that, which I don't want to knock him too hard for because he's smart enough to play them, but you never want to solely rely on it. Does he win in Summer Solstice? Absolutely. But the question is, does he win Wisconsin 1? I don't know. He does kind of show his cards very early in Wisconsin 1.
Yeah,
and he puts such a huge target on his back. Yeah, exactly. I know, and I'm not trying to knock him against this either. Connor was someone I really wanted to have on here. I think once I explain my next 3 people, you'll understand why Connor was a little lower. But Connor is definitely someone I would love to see back in the future. Connor is one of my definite, if we're picking, people who played multiple times in Wisconsin before that we want to see back again, Connor's one of the top ones on that list. I want to see Connor back again because I do think he can make a run to the end. You know what I mean? Connor's someone I definitely think is very fun to have around. And the only kind of hesitations is that when he's kind of on the block and on the run, all these other players before him and after him, when they're on the run, there's a good chance that they could get themselves off the block. And we have seen some of these people before and after him take themselves off the block. With Connor, unfortunate as it is, isn't really when he's on the run and on the bottom, he's not able to get himself off the bottom. And Summer Solstice, again, the only way he's making that final, tribal council, winning the puzzle. And I don't want to knock him too much on a puzzle, but you never want to make it so you have to rely on immunity to get by. And that's a big thing that led it to me. So I really wanted to put Connor higher. I almost did, but it's just kind of because of the fact he had to rely on winning challenges both times he played to get by. And granted, Connor kind of got screwed by the joint tribal and Wisconsin won, whatever. But
yeah, and that's part of him just playing the first time. And I will say,
exactly,
it would have been interesting in Summer Solstice if Allie or Liz would have won that Final Four challenge. I don't know. I don't know who they would have taken.
Exactly, yeah. For Corey's story arc, because I'm also good friends with Corey. I've been great friends with Corey since Fans versus Favorites. I was happy for him. Because I made so many jokes to him over the years about the fucking puzzles as a joke. Because I'm not that good at puzzles either. But I was happy for Corey, but it's also got me thinking too, exactly what you said, if Allie or Liz had won. Because they had talked about getting both of them out. Who knows? And I do think Connor potentially wins. But then it's does Connor really knock Corey out? Or does he see potential in Allie to get some votes? Or even Liz, because he starts campaigning for Liz at the jury roundtable, saying some potential with her. So, does he worry about potential with Liz? So I do think it makes it more interesting if any of the other 3 win immunity. But Connor was my number 4 just because he kind of had to, both times he played, he had to start relying on winning challenges. And from personal experience, you never want to have to rely. Those of you watching, you want to put yourself in such a good spot that you don't have to rely on challenges, advantages, or idols. Because if you have to rely on it, then you're possibly in a situation where everyone wants you out and you're screwed no matter what happens. And if you're screwed, you can't make shit happen to help you get to the end and win. Does it make a good underdog story? Absolutely, but what does it say about your game? So, I don't know. I really wanted to put Connor higher, but just because he had to rely on immunities, that put him a little lower than the next few people we'll talk about. So
I just disagree with everything you just said there because I just think that, it's very, I agree. You should put yourself in a position where you don't have to rely on that stuff. But certain players, like a Connor, like a Christian, maybe not a Christian, like a Corey Moore, sometimes no matter what you do, you're not going to really be able to overcome that because you're such a big target. And it's Connor had that notion that he was a really challenge beast from his first time playing. And then in this summer solstice, he had to really turn on to keep his survival going in the game because his tribe fucking sucked, and he had to win some challenges, and he had to show off like he's good at his fucking challenges. So I think it was just like Corey had his like minions going, and it was all like they're going for Connor, and they didn't really get a chance to take Connor out. So we'll get into Connor when it's my time to talk about him, but I understand, like, yeah, he didn't put himself in great position sometimes, but I just think, like, the three people you have ahead of him, or maybe even two of them you have ahead of him, if you put them head to head, I just don't see how they're better players just in Wisconsin. But we'll keep it going here and dive into my number 4, which is Emma. Emma didn't make my top 10 in Survivor Wisconsin overall players, so I'm not going to be able to put her, top 3 because this is based off those rankings for me. Like people I have top 3 like of Wisconsin, we're higher in my overall Wisconsin rankings. I love Emma, really good friends with her. She's a great player, someone I really highly recruited to play this game. She wowed me the first time she played. Made a $100-something mistake though in the first game, which I'm gonna always put that in consideration. Understand it was her first time playing, but sometimes loyalty ain't gonna win you the game in that position. Evolution, she did play really well, but I wish she kind of stuck her guns and made decisions more. I think she was a little bit all over the place. I know I was talking to Cece actually, and he didn't like how you had her ranked, Richie. So might have to have a talk with that. But jokes aside, Emma is a fantastic.
Well, if CC wants to come talk to me about it, he's more than welcome to text me. I think he probably has my Instagram, or if not, he can easily look it up. So it's not like he can't talk to me if he doesn't want
to. Jokes aside, though, Emma's a fantastic player. Has shown ability to find idols. Yeah, she's got to learn how to play them correctly because she gets a little too nervous, and that's another reason why I don't have her as high as maybe you do. Again though, like 4 is very high in me. Like it was really hard to rank them at the end, but I did go based on my overall Survivor Wisconsin rankings. Yeah, Emma's a great player. She doesn't really do anything wrong. I just wish she was. I don't know what she could have done differently to make her higher for me. I just think the other 3 I have just played stronger games, and that's just how it is. And again, if someone's gonna sit here and tell me Emma should be higher, I'm not gonna be like, no. Like that's not what I'm gonna fight to change your opinion because I completely can see why, and I think she's a great player. Just all I'll say is I just think the 3 I have higher just played better. Maybe they won the game, maybe they didn't, but Emma's a great player, one of the best we've had, and I don't know when she'll play next. She doesn't have a lot to prove besides winning the game. So I know you probably have her higher than this, so we'll save that for when the time is.
If you loved my number 4, then you're gonna love my number 3, Devin, because my number 3 is Allie. And I know a lot of people are probably watching this being like, what the fuck did he just do with this? But let me at least explain this. Allie, I do get. She was out first. She had to win her way back in. But again, kind of like with what I was talking about last week, with she won the game. She's the only newbie player we've had that's won the game. I think that definitely, regardless of however she plays,
that's a good point, Rich Dog. That's a good point.
And one big thing though is that when she's in the game, she does a lot of stuff that a lot of players wouldn't have done, regardless of whether it's their first, second, third, sixth, whatever time. Is that she's able to put her aside the bullshit, go up to the people that she's annoyed with for screwing her over, and say, "Hey, let's do this. Let's work together." And she's able to manage out her allies and the jury out pretty damn well socially, puts herself in a great position where she wins challenges, but doesn't have to rely on them. The only time I feel like she ever had to rely on anything was that Final 4, where she's potentially, I could have seen her maybe being a secondary target had she not spouted out that special idol twist thing at the end where she tries to make a fake out of it. And I do want to give her credit for that.
Yeah.
And gets him off of her. And I do feel like at the final tribal, there's a part of her that does get lucky that Corey managed the jury pretty bad. But with Allie, she's smart enough to where even people we thought would have gotten a vote for Corey voted for her. I think very socially, anyways, I think socially she puts herself in such a great position. And I feel like the only reason she's not higher for me is because we didn't get to see her play out the pre-merge. It's like, had she gotten out to play that, would she still been able to win the game? Because we saw her form quick alliances with people she had no idea who they were. We saw her quickly bond with people and quickly mesh well with people, and she was smart enough to look around and say, hey, these are the moves I need to make, the people I need to get out who are against me to win this game. And while I definitely won't say that Allie's as big of a player as, like, a big of a name as Connor, or as big of a female strategic player as, like, someone like Brienne or Kathy or Franklin or whatever, I do think Allie definitely does hold up her own. Like, you put her up against certain people, I do definitely, even a couple people ahead of her, I have. Yeah. At least one of those you could probably put up against Allie, and Allie would find a way to win out. So, like, Allie definitely is a very smart player, and I think, I mean, let's be honest, she's going to come back sometime down the road. The question is, when is it going to be, and can she show us more of that we didn't get to see before? So I feel like a lot of what we didn't get to see was because the first vote off, and even though she did have to rely on a twist to get back in the game, like, I do have to put that against her. Yeah. I do think it's what she does with her time in the game. She didn't really have to prove too much. Like other people, like I said, it's like if they had gotten past a certain point, would they have won? Would they have done this? Would they have gone far or whatever? And Allie, she got to the end. Even though she had to get back in the game, to get to the end, she got to the end. She proved to people. She knew that they were valuing a more social and nice guy type of gameplay. She was smart enough to with her campaigns too, and I'm not going to get too much more into this. I know I'm already going too long. A lot of the reasons she's here is kind of like the reason she was on my list for our other rankings. So if you want to learn into that, go look at part 1 of her top 10 Wisconsin rankings, and you'll get a little bit more into my mindset of why I definitely have a lot of respect for her as a player. So is she as big of a player as other people like Connor, Corey, Brienne, whatever? No. But I do think she's her own player. I think that's definitely what puts her high up. Again, only person to have won, I know you guys probably can't see my screen, I'm circling the winner part. She won the game. She's the only newbie we've had down here so far who has won this game. That's definite respect. So,
yeah. Come on, you got what it takes to win our game. If you are interested in playing our Survivor game, reach out to us on idle.identifiers on Instagram. We're looking for possibly a season January, February, March maybe. So check us out. Play this game. It's so fun. It's a social experiment. You get off your phone for a whole day. You enjoy socializing with people. It's competitive. You got a chance to win the game. We've varietized the challenges. We make them very various different things that doesn't just involve a physical presence. All right. So as you're saying, Richie has Allie at number 3. So you think that I might think that's a little too high for Richie is what you kind of were thinking based on what I've said before? Well, actually I had her at 3 as well, Richie. So Allie is my 3rd ranked Survivor Wisconsin newbie from Phase 1. She won the game. And actually, according to my Survivor Wisconsin rankings that we did before, she was my 3rd rated newbie from Survivor Wisconsin. I had her at 13th overall in players in the whole entire 40 whatever players that have played Survivor Wisconsin. Yeah, it's hard to put her higher just because, like we said, in your little stance on her, she did get voted off first, but again, I did make those tribes, and I thought that gave her a chance. Yes, I knew she didn't know a lot of people besides she knew Corey because of Christian, but that was really it. And I didn't really want to put her on that tribe to start because I knew that Liz and Ryan probably were going to go with Corey, and then it's like, that's 4 against 2. Those other 2 don't really have a chance. I thought Allie would mesh well, and she's a very social player. She showed that when she came back. Only surviving really 5 rounds as a winner is not great. That's not really her fault. She took a hold of that opportunity that she did get, and she took it full-fledged, and she ended up winning the game. Yes, I don't think she was the best player on the season. I don't even know if she really should have beat Corey, in my opinion, but she swayed the people to do it. She got it done. She got the victory. She played a great social game. She didn't really make any crazy moves, but when time came to shove, when it time to make the decision for who to win, she was able to convince the jury more than Corey, who had the flashy game. I like flashy. We've been talking about this whole little video here, but Allie didn't do the flashy. She won the game. I have her ranked 3rd. She deserves it, and I would like to see her play again in the future, and she's going to be ranking up higher if she can do what she did last time and last longer in the game and just position herself a little bit better. That first vote off in a game of Survivor in our game, it's pretty tough. It's sometimes almost random. So Richie's blind right now, but we're going to give Allie at 3 for both of us. I think that's a great ranking. She did win the game, only newbie to do that so far, so we'll give her props there. But, if you definitely feel like you want to play this game, watch how Allie play the game because it is a very good strategy how to play the game. So that's all I'll say more about Allie. Anything else to add? I know you kind of dove into her already, but...
Yeah, I think everything I said about her just was said before. Obviously, only 5 rounds. But for me, it's what she does in those 5 rounds, making those social connections. She knows the right time to make these final 3 alliances and when to keep her mouth shut and just say, yeah, sure. And when to actually say, like, probably not. And she knows which person to really be honest with, which was Liz. And the other people she knew to just be careful with what she said about them. She obviously knew who the targets were, who weren't. So I do got to give a lot of credit to Alan. So
yeah, did you think I was never gonna have her lower, honestly, or no?
I didn't think you had her on the list at all. I'm actually not gonna lie. I didn't think you had her on the list at all. So when you just said that before, I was like, oh, okay, we got 2 right so far. 2 of
I mean,
10.
I know I was maybe pooping on her game a little bit in the top 10 player rankings, but I did have her at 13th overall, and based on the newbies, she did play third best out of the newbies, in my opinion. It just was the other people that weren't newbies I just thought played stronger than her, but other than that, I mean, she deserves the praise, so we're going to dive into our top 2 now, so let's kick it off with Richie's number 2.
Liz! What's up?
Are you kidding me, dude? Come on! What are we doing here?
Okay.
What are we doing here? I love you, Liz, but come on!
I love you more, Liz.
Clearly. A little too much, I think.
As a friend.
Trying to build a future alliance that ain't going to happen because you'll get out first again. Come on!
Okay, so I'm going to ignore the first one-off comment, but okay, no, seriously, for Liz, yeah, let's talk when you come back in the game, alright? You come back
That's
out
fair
of
enough.
retirement. Okay.
That's fair enough.
No, seriously, for Liz, the reason why I had her up on here was because I do have a lot of respect for the fact that Liz was smart enough. I mean, out of all the people in Summer Solstice, Liz basically survived every single round. She was the only newbie to survive every single round. Because every other, I mean, you could make a case for Allie, but no, got out first. Even though some people were considering Liz that first round at first, like, she got time to bond with people, make these alliances with people, and she was able to, like, smartly say, like, hey, if I stick with Corey's going to get the numbers, it's going to work out in some way, shape, or form, and even though the Nate vote, it didn't work out, she lost Nate as an ally, she's still smart enough to where she's put so much against Alex with other people that people want to go against Alex. The only person that doesn't go with them to vote Alex right before the merge is Tyler, who, from a lot of reports I've heard outside the game, was kind of on his own little island. I am going to say that, like, she definitely should have made a little bit more big moves throughout the game. There were definitely times where she should have separated herself from other people. But I do think, all in all, I know I was saying this with, I forgot who it was someone else before. She plays a great game to get to the end. She plays a great game to guarantee herself end game plans. The only issue I saw with her game that prevented her from being my number 1, does she realistically win? I think the only way she really would have won that would have been had she went with Ryan and Kyle instead of, you know, like, maybe if she goes with Ryan instead of or with Allie and Ryan, maybe instead of Corey, I don't know, but it's like, again, getting out Corey would have been her big thing, but she didn't get the chance to take out Corey, which you can't knock her too much for. And Connor was another one you just couldn't knock out. Like, those two were her biggest threats. And it got to a point where she had to knock out people she would have easily won against because of the fact that they both found ways to keep themselves alive the entire game. Well, both of them did have to rely on that to get by. I think Liz had to only rely on her social game alone, which, I mean, Survivor, when it gets down to the point, you go back to Survivor Borneo, Prof said flat out, it's a social game.
Yeah.
I do think it's a definitely controversial thing to put Liz above Allie, especially in my other rankings.
Yeah, did you have it the other way around in the other ones?
Yeah, I think it was the other way around. When I'm thinking solely off of the newbies, even though a part of me did kind of flip-flop between Allie and Liz a couple times, Liz ultimately kind of won out that battle because I think you bring them both back in a different season, whether it be their captains or in a group of returnees. I can definitely see Liz beating Allie in a different season. I think you put Allie against Liz, Allie could most likely win out against Liz. And there are a lot of good cases where Liz could win out against Allie. Because of the fact that she's able to kind of go stealth bomb, get people to do what she wants them to do in one way or the other, and then before you know it, you're out. Like, she had this whole sweet and sour alliance with Kyle, got Kyle believing they were good together, and then Kyle gets out that same round. Like, she is able to get people to gravitate towards her. I don't want to say, like, poverty shallow, because she's not doing the flirt man thing, but, like, kind of she gets people to gravitate towards her and want to work with her. Like, if I was playing that season, I would have worked with Liz. I will flat out say that I probably would have been stupid enough to believe anything she would have told me. So, Liz definitely just kind of with what we're talking about with Jacob, with there was someone else we were talking about.
Drawing people to them.
Exactly, yeah, kind of like gravitating people towards yourself is something that Liz is very good at. And everything I saw from her when I was filming her, because when I was filming her, I stuck with her a lot. So this is definitely a little biased because Liz is one of the people I filmed a lot of the game. So, like, definitely I got to see the ins and outs of everything she said and did up front. Like, I definitely think 100% she comes back. I definitely think she is the female who can most likely win in any other cast. So, that's just my opinion. I know it's a little biased, but I definitely think Liz has a great chance to win. And any other season she comes back in, definitely is a great player in her own way. So,
yeah, I mean, first off, I'm going to say Liz is a great social player. She did play very good socially. But my first things first is, yeah, you're saying Liz maybe would have won. Okay, she won head-to-head against Allie, didn't win. So that's kind of contradictory.
And I mean, like in a different season.
I know, but we're talking about just how they played so far. I know I said potential too, but when they actually are playing in the same season head-to-head, and then you said Connor beats almost anybody in that season, it's like, I mean, if Connor wins that puzzle or if Allie or Liz win that puzzle, they maybe vote off Corey instead of Connor. You really don't think Connor's going to beat them, and then you gotta have.
I still stand by that. I think if Liz
then how is Connor not a better player then?
I think it's because Liz didn't need to rely on immunities and idols and advantages to get by, whereas Connor kind of had to.
You know why? Because as most people said, and Connor exposed her in the jury thing, and I love you, Liz, but she was a follower. She didn't make any of her own moves. She didn't. What's one move she made on her own that you can remember?
She decided to make a bond with Allie that lets her gaining information. That making alliances is totally a move.
It's not a strategic. I'm talking about a voting move. I'm not talking about aligning with the right people.
Okay, because she clearly did. Voting move is different. If we're talking about just moving in general, that's voting move is a little different.
Yeah, she aligned with the right people.
That's different qualifications. So
she aligned with the right people because she was a follower. Come on,
Alex
Richie.
was one. I will say Alex was on her because I filmed her that entire time. People were going back and forth, and some people started to lean Corey. She was the one who pushed for Alex. So I will say that for her, because I remember filming that whole thing, and I was thinking, like, no, Liz, like, I want you to work with Alex. Like, Liz and Alex were two of my favorites in Summer Solstice, so.
Yeah, I mean, we agree pretty heavily on that. I love Liz. Like, I do. And I know that's just, like, kind of contradicting. Like, I'm not trying to shit on her game or anything.
It's a controversial pick, so I get it. Like, this is a very controversial pick.
I just think you're hyping her up more than what she did. I think it's all, like, what she could have done. She did align with the right people, and that is a skill, but she didn't really do anything on her own, where I think people like I have ranked ahead of Liz, in my opinion. I think Ryan, I can see the argument why he maybe didn't, but like Nate did a lot of stuff on his own, even in Evolution. Emma did a lot. You probably have, I don't know about Emma, but
that's kind of with what I was saying with like Liz and Nate, is that they both played good games to get to the end, but I wouldn't say necessarily the best games to win.
Yeah.
I do think had Liz not botched her final tribal, I do have to put this against Liz too. If she did not botch it, I definitely see her getting a couple of votes, and who knows, maybe it could have helped her win. Connor definitely wanted her at first, and then when she started botching up her answers, he was like, no, like, I'm not voting for you now. But people had enough respect for Connor where I could definitely see him being able to flip some people to vote for Liz, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who really knows? I think it all comes down to if she would have just done a better final tribal campaign. I think she had the possibility, she had the potential to do it, especially what people were saying in a roundtable when I was filming it. I think it's just what it all came down to. So she didn't really campaigned for the best way. Yeah, she kind of did what I did in Fans vs. Favorites.
Yeah, but she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything that she could really sell herself to besides aligning with the right people, which isn't that big of a skill. And yeah, she only got one vote to her name at the very end there, the final four. That's because she wasn't a threat. All right, moving on to my number two, who didn't have to rely on being a follower the whole game, was Chris. Chris is my second-ranked player. You had him ranked lower, which I get. CC, as you like to call him. He's very impressive. You got to think of who the players he was going up against, that he held his own. Made the right idol move early on in the game that really set him apart. Yeah, he was right-hand man with Nate the whole time. I think he played the better game than Nate, in my opinion. by a good amount. I think if he goes head to head at the end against Nate and Emma, I think he wins. Emma and him, it would have been close, I think, in the vote. But I think he played a much stronger game than Nate. Again, I actually, you know how I like my flashy. He wasn't flashy Iron Ring too, so I guess I'm getting a little diverse there with some of my criteria.
Hopefully diverse.
But yeah, again, I think Chris played an excellent game. Just based on the one game he played, yeah, potential wise, he could win the game. I think in the future. I think we agreed on this. I think he definitely reminds me a lot of how Dolphin Sam played his first time. So
definitely, I saw that too. Like I was seeing, watching, and hearing stuff about it, and he definitely gives me Dolphin Sam vibes. Like he knows to keep his mouth shut, when to speak up.
yeah,
So
yeah, and I think he's got ton of potential to play in the end, to play again and do very well. And I wish we just saw a little more initiative to make a big move. I think he timed his moves off a little bit, but I give him the credit for trying and not being a faller and trying to make his own.
And
pathways.
He was up against a lot of big players too, like 4 of the 10 Whitewater winners. So it's like,
yeah, and again, go based off on Liz and even Chris here. They're both playing their first times. Yeah, Liz didn't go up against as big of threats as Chris did, but he did go against like a Corey Connor. So like this is their first time playing. It is a learning experience, and they're going to learn from it and play better in the future. And again, Liz, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to shit in your game. I just think some players played a little bit better than you.
Shit in her game. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, CC, Chris. I understand why I have him a little bit lower than I do. I was just amazed at how good he played. I think I was just kind of surprised how good he played.
Me too.
How surprised how good he played against some like really big competition. So I hope though if he comes back and he plays against a little bit lesser competition than what he just played against, which is basically going to happen because it's pretty hard to have players that big play again.
Yeah.
I just hope
second chances.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't like get too confident about it and think he can like really run it with how he managed against some of the top guys. But yeah, I got Chris at 2. Moving into now your number 1, which is someone I already had ranked.
Emma's my number 1. I forgot if I said this last week. I consider her somewhat similar to like Sari Fields. Like I wouldn't say she's a Sari Fields is from Wisconsin, but I think we all know she is a great like strategic player. She knows how to get people on her side. I do have to knock her for the Dolphin Sam thing, but if you're pairing her up against a lot of these newbies, I feel like she's been at risk a couple times, but like most of the time in Cabin Fever, when she was at risk, it was a small minority that was going against her that fizzled out like a couple rounds later. In Evolution, she was up against a bit tougher competition, but had things worked out differently, and she didn't get voted out in 6. From what I've seen and heard, there were a bunch of people who wanted to work with her and wanted to go further to the end with her. Like, kind of what you were saying before, right? CC, Nate, like if they go to the end, they possibly would think about Emma.
Yeah.
Would they? Would they not? I don't really know. But like Emma's definitely in contention. People want to work with her. Christian wanted to work with her. Hunter definitely wanted to work with her during a good chunk of the game. Cody, I think, wanted to work with her parts of the game as well. Like Emma had a lot of options going further, and I think had she made it past that round, I think 100% she either makes it to the 4 or she makes it to the end once again. And I think if she makes it to the end, my personal opinion, if she's at the end with CC and Nate, I think Emma wins hands out. I think she makes a good redemption story of like knowing like this time around, like, hey, I couldn't do what I did last time. I think she does so good. I think just with her experience at the final tribal, whereas Nate didn't even get to the finals previous time, and CC was there for his first time. Like, I don't know. I feel like Emma is the type of person who's only played twice, but I feel like we've seen her play like hundreds of times. You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird to think about, but it's like she's a 2-time player that I feel like has played 6 times already, if you catch my drift. Like, she's just as experienced and able to pick up the game as quick as anyone else.
Yeah.
And she's definitely one of the dominant players out of all the other, like, Wisconsin people. I mean, obviously, there's a couple people who it's like, if you put them above Emma or near her, like, I can definitely understand. Like, yeah, it makes sense. But with Emma, like, I mean, definitely for me, she at least is high up because she almost never wins immunity. She won, like, 1 immunity because no one knew how to solve the puzzle. Yeah. And I will say, when I did that, it was pure luck. So no one shit yourself on it compared herself to me. I still don't even know to this day. Everyone said I practiced it, and I told them, like, bitch, I didn't even know what puzzle that was until, like, after. The jury's still out for that one, but I honestly did not know that puzzle. Like, I got very lucky on that. And what happened, but like Emma's able to solve the puzzle, and even though she does make a mistake with it, the rest of the game she doesn't have immunity, but she's in a good spot. She doesn't need to rely on immunity and idols. You know what I mean? Like maybe that round where Mac was out in cabin fever, because I think she was the last one to play an idol, but even then, she never got Jasper's vote. Jasper voted for Matt. So I think, and even then, in original Wolfpack, she's in the original like power trifecta, where it's very clear she's not going anywhere for a while. She makes herself very useful socially, strategically, and physically. First time she plays, Evolution was more or less the same of her, except she's a little bit more in control at the start. I mean, there's a lot of like different ways you can say it out, but I do think Emma is one of the best players we've had in a long while. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with anything you said. I had Emma ranked 4th out of my.
This time.
Huh?
I was joking. I said you can't disagree with me this time. You can't.
Yeah, I mean, I will disagree. I don't have Emma number 1. I have her number 4, but I definitely agree with everything you are saying. Why she should be number 1. The reason I just had Emma ahead of her because, not Emma ahead of her. I had Allie ahead of Emma is because she won the game.
Emma ahead of Emma. Okay, Devin.
It's getting late here. It's getting late into the video, but no, I had Allie ahead of her because she won the game. And then Chris, I just think he played stronger than her. And then I'll get to my number 1 in a second. But yeah, Emma, I mean. How you're saying you think feels like she's played like 6 times? It's really because first time she played, first time she played, she lasted past 10 rounds, and then she made it past 9 rounds the second time she played. So she made it very deep in the game every time. I think she definitely can be in like any season and really adapt and play well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wish. I think the only thing she really has to work on is just. Which is hard to do because it's very hard to not be paranoid in a game like this, especially so fast paced. But she definitely just got to fix to time her idol plays right. But at the same time, I mean, I understand the one in Cabin Fever for sure. But this one was a little bit of a waste. But maybe she could have kept it and made it further with that. So Emma's a great player, one of the best we've had in recent memory. So. I like the Suri Fields comparison because I actually said that to Christian once too, and I don't know if Christian agreed with me, but I agree with that to some points. So, yeah. All right. So closing this off, I'll get into my number 1. The reason I got so mad where you had him before is because he's my number 1 and Connor. So Connor is my number 1. I mean, I kind of feel like I vouched for him and explained why he should be number 1 earlier already. I just think he's a strong competitor. Learned a lot from the first time he played, and he just went balls to the wall the second time he played. Yes, I definitely understand your points where he needed to seemed like he had to rely on idols and winning challenges a little bit too much, which I think so. And it's funny, that's kind of like how Christian, when he played his very first time as Forever Whitewater, was kind of like that, and he developed into the best player really we've seen. I just think Connor could develop and really change his approach a little bit next if he played again. And win the game. And I the reason I have him this high is because I think out of all the players of the seasons, he was probably the player of the season in my opinion, Summer Solstice. And he's the only newbie that really qualifies for playing so strong. I think he is a tier ahead of all these people that have played. And he didn't make it super far in the first time he played, but he established himself as a threat with some big threats already there, which is pretty impressive. Wasn't a great decision by him, but I just think Connor, if he comes in and plays, he's a huge threat, and he's got a chance to win based on his skills of, I think he can be a really social player. Maybe he didn't show it a ton when he's played before, but I think he can. He wasn't afraid to talk to everybody. He did really try to talk to Allie and Liz in Summer Solstice, and he thought he was with them for portions of the game. They kind of played his ass, which was funny to see. But Connor's a great player, one of the best to ever do it. Would love to see him play again in the future. He really has nothing to prove but win, which is a lot of players that have played that are really high in my ranks. I just think it's the complete package, has every aspect to be a great Survivor player. And yeah, I just think he's a little bit better than all these other players. So I get why you have a couple other people ahead of him, but just our opinions.
Yeah, and then we'll give him credit. He did have control over Susu early on. He basically was the one controlling it, even though originally he was the target.
Yeah.
The first idol hunt wasn't the best idea, but he's able to pick himself up from that. So I will definitely give him that. Something I forgot to mention before. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that and everything. And you got any closing remarks, Richie? I mean, that was a long video. Maybe we'll break it into two here. Um, but
I have
man,
to
what give your closing remarks on just that thing? I know got a little hostile with Liz there. Sorry, Liz. Jeez.
closing remarks. People who are watching who haven't played, you want to play, get your ass in here and play. Hit us up. It's super fun. It's a lot of fun to try it out. Just come try it out, or even come talk to us. It's so much fun. I know people are gonna have a field day in the comment section with my opinions and what I said, but it's just what I think.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super fun to see these next couple seasons play out. But I'm excited to see it. So hopefully you guys watching this come out and play. So
Yeah, I agree with everything Richie said. Don't beat us up too much in the comments, but we would like to see your guys' opinion. Get out of there. We would like to see your guys' opinion. So definitely leave comments. Leave comments for other videos ideas. Me and Richie might be still doing stuff like this for phase 1 before we start our phase 2, hopefully after the holidays and so forth. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We really appreciate it. Please like, and subscribe here on YouTube. Check us out for more updates on our Instagram, idol.identifiers. And yeah, only thing we really got hostile on, Liz, I'm sorry. You are a good player. I just think you should be a little bit lower than Richie put you. But besides the point, thank you for all that have played the game, who has helped, and we'll see you in the future and maybe another video, hopefully soon. See ya, everybody.
have fun, guys.